Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It is Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan, and we are going to talk about Eagles-Browns joint practice. The Eagles held their first of two on Wednesday. Adam was there. I was supposed to be there. Had a little mix-up. Some things came up, so I couldn't make it. So, Adam, we're just going to get all the intel through your eyes. So I am excited to talk to you about it because a lot of interesting things were said in the press conferences and some developments. The Heat went back to being brutal again, huh?
It's bad, man. It was, as a matter of fact, I felt like I was in Los Angeles because if I didn't know any better, it was smog-like driving over at 9 a.m. Practice started at 10, and then it subsided right before practice. But just driving over on 95 was like, man, what the hell? How do planes going to fly out here today? Anyway, so yeah, it was low 90s, very humid. Practice was hour and 45 plus a 50-minute developmental period, which is where the quarterbacks, the 3 and 4, or both number threes, whatever you want to call them, McCord and DTR, former Brown, where they got their work in. Yeah, it's just kind of weird how, and I get it. 3s and 4s aren't going to normally work during the first part in the broader part of practice, but it's good to see that the Eagles do that. They're not the only team, as I understand it, by the way, that does that. But it's certainly a good job by Sirianni when he brought that in here. Now, it was your typical joint practice where, Eagles offense versus the Browns defense on one field, then the opposites on the other field. So if you're trying to watch all of practice, you can't. You just the only thing you can do is what I did a lot, and I know you've done this, is I'll sit in the stands. Yeah, Andy's no longer here, so we're allowed to actually sit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and you can see everything, not everything, but mostly everything.
So that's tougher because you got two things going on at once, and you have to have your attention divided.
So what I do is it's funny you say that. So I'm like, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm like, okay, here, and I'm hoping, okay, get this play over with before that other one that other field starts. The next play, that's kind of the balancing act. You're trying to take as much in, and then at some point I get up close. I'll get on the sidelines from the field to the right. So yeah, it was I would call it uneven for both sides of the football. Both sides of the football, Eagles offense and defense had their moments. I don't make too much about one-on-ones. You heard what Vic Fangio thinks about one-on-ones. Not much.
Right.
They're just fun to watch. Seeing Myles Garrett again go up against Lane Johnson was something else. Garrett had one. He got Lane. It happens. But it doesn't mean anything. But it's cool to watch. But I read into nothing with one-on-ones. Although when you see, just as an overview, when you get to see these I like, and I think there's something to read into it, despite what Vic says. I understand there are going to be 10 other players with a player in real football in a game, but you could see athleticism, start stop ability for cornerbacks and safety. That stuff's important. How long have we talked about Ringo's really not good start and stop? That's a factor, and you can see it.
Yeah. And I would say offensive, defensive line, that's also where you're working on your fundamentals. You're working on technique. You might be trying out pass rush moves. That's an offensive lineman.
Sure.
You may be still counting your steps and vertical sets. However, if you're seeing a guy getting ragdolled, 3, 4, 5 days in a row, well, then his techniques and fundamentals need some work, and that he is struggling. I think Kenyon Green, I'll use as an example, where I just thought in the one-on-ones I've watched, he really hasn't stopped a variety of different guys from getting to the mark. And that told me that he was just struggling. Maybe it's in his head. Maybe he's trying to adjust, whatever it is. But I think over the long haul, you can do some evaluation. But you're right that, and Vic's right, any one particular rep versus another, especially receivers versus corners where there's no pass rush and you have all the time, that's not,
it's not fair. Right. It's really, that's the one I was going to get at in terms of overall making a judgment. You can't, because football's not done one-on-one without it's not like, okay, it's 20 players and then there's 2. It doesn't work like that, but you get to see the skill, athleticism, certain traits that you like to see. But anyway, so let's get started on the Eagles offense versus the Browns defense. And Tanner McKee, the more I watch him, the more amazed I am. Because in year one, I didn't think he could take the ball off. He could take anything off the football. I just didn't think the mechanics are great. We talked about it. He didn't move very well. And obviously, you got to give the coaches who've worked with him, now this is year 3 already, the kid is got it, man. And the thing that's really I love with him, with Darius Cooper, I'm looking at my notes here, his ability, Because I remember talking to Flacco about this. Joe told me early in his career, biggest challenge is take some off the football because, Flacco, one of the strongest arms in NFL history. Not used to touch passes when you're going from Delaware to the big leagues. And McKee took a couple shallows to Cooper. I really like what Tanner did. It's just it's a nuance of the game that it's kind of stuff I look for. Anyone could go to practice. Okay, Eagles got a touchdown on this play, but what are you actually seeing? That's what we do here. And I really was impressed with his ability to take something off it. And then if you see a deep comeback, then you go, wow, deep comeback is a pure power throw. Hurts has come a long way with deep comebacks. They don't run them a lot, but when they do, Jalen's, because we know he's got a good long distance arm, but that's not about power. That's about touch.
Right.
Jalen's improved his arm strength, but this kid, as Greg Cosell says, is an easy thrower, Tanner McKee. And he that was on display if folks got a chance to watch him on Wednesday.
Right, and he was going up against the Browns' second defense, right? Because it would be first
yes.
and second versus second, right? Just
100%. Yep. So I was impressed with that. Hurts shallow to a Devontae for score. Dotson, they're doing a good job of freeing him up. It's not so much motion. It's okay. This play, he's lined up as the Z. This next play, they're going to 12 personnel because A.J. Brown didn't practice. He was out there virtually the entire practice cheering his teammates on, but they're just being smart with the hamstring, which is fine. He got work earlier this week, so he's fine. They're just not going to force it. Devontae is just another guy where he's underappreciated because he does so much of the dirty work for guys under 170 pounds. He's pretty remarkable. NolanSmith, they continue to reduce him. Like, he starts off a little bit wide, then right before the snap, they'll reduce him. Or what they'll do is they'll move him. They'll start out wide and then they move him in motion. Yeah. But this is another good Johnny Wilson practice, I have to say, because we've been very critical because it's all been warranted. This is 2 weeks now. And the word I was given is urgency with this guy. I would give Aaron Moorhead credit. Whatever he's doing with him is reaching the kid because the kid's playing like he knows he's got to bring it. And that is really good to see because you can't teach size, and he's got a lot of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I made this point with you or with Football at 4 at Mike Gill or whoever's filling in, but I would think that there is a positive influence that Aaron Moorhead could have on Wilson because Aaron Moorhead himself, I mean, he's not as tall as Johnny Wilson, few are, but he was a taller receiver in the NFL. He's like 6'2", 6'3" kind of guy, but he moved around. 6'3", 6'4", right? But if I recall correctly, he would play some slot with the Colts, which is where they're also lining up Johnny Wilson.
A little bit.
When he was with the Colts, they had I want to say they of course had Reggie Wayne, right? But they had another outside guy.
Well, other than Marvin and Reggie,
was Marvin still there? I'd have to go back.
Brett Stokely was the slot,
right?
Probably more,
I think Moorhead was also like a fourth receiver, and he would occasionally play in the slot as well.
Yeah. He probably was a backup X, but he was also a good special teams player. But anyway, so Johnny Wilson showing up right now. He's the 4. The question is, that Terrence Marshall's getting a lot of run here. Can he secure the 5th? Because Darius Cooper, this is one of those, and whoever has the South, whatever they call it, whoever, that's a hell of this Darius Cooper is legit. This right. We're going to look more into why he wasn't drafted because you can't. You watch this kid, you go, how the F wasn't he drafted? You know? Yeah,
and don't forget about it. You mentioned him, Anaya Smith. I mean, he's in the mix for that 5 as well. So
in personnel, the teams that feel like they have a really good roster, they'll tell you, hey, we're going to be cutting some players that are probably going to make another team. I'm not saying these Eagles backups are great, but they're showing up.
I agree. I think it's been a while since the Eagles had a good reason to keep 6. It's been a little bit, right? I mean, even the Super Bowl a couple of years ago that they lost. I mean, Quez Watkins was your 3. The kid from Pascal was your 4. He was a good special teamer. You couldn't get to 5 and make a legitimate case of anybody that I can remember, right? I mean, they've tried, right? They had Devontae Parker who retired last year. I mean, they've tried to add, but
former Eagle, not legend. Yes,
right. John Hightower never really cut it. So I think this is the first year in a while where they may have to have a conversation about keeping 6, as long as your 5 and 6 can play special teams and contribute. So that's interesting.
Yeah, Elijah Cook's not ready yet, come back from his shoulder. So in Taylor Morin, he's a real long shot because you don't, especially if Anaya Smith makes it, it's going to be hard to keep Taylor Morin. But man, he's another guy who plays bigger than his listed size. He's bigger than you think. He might be 5'11", but man, he's for a slot receiver. He's got a little bit of thickness to him. So he's interesting. To be honest with you, it's an interesting competition. Getting over to O-line as when we'll get to running back, I saw there's some really good stuff there. O-line wise, I thought they were leaking in pass protection, but man, their run blocking. Drew Kendall, I know he's not the biggest guy. I know he's not strong, but man, technique is good. You would hope so because his dad was Pete Kendall, who's a good NFL player. But I'll tell you what, man, and Steen, as you know, is really settled in at right guard, and then it was Toth, of course, for Dickerson, and then Kennard backed him up at left guard.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought for the run game, and Shipley was really good, explosive, slippery. Look at my notes here. He fits the hole extremely well. It gets skinny. He's just really good at it. And the other surprising thing to me, no one's ever going to confuse A.J. Dillon with Barkley's jump cut. But this is the second practice I've watched Dillon have an amazing jump cut. Didn't even know he had one. He looks good, man. He's back. Like, he's not just that individual play, but watching 6 or 7 practices, knowing what I know about him, he looks good, man. They're in real good hands here at the running back position right now.
Yeah, like we said all along, it will not be a question of talent with Dillon. It'll be a question of health. And so far, so good. Now, he is the perfect kind of guy. It'll be interesting at the roster cut down to see if they can cut him and bring him back on the practice squad.
I don't see any chance of that. I don't see any chance of that.
No chance?
No, because here's why. No, but here's why.
Uh-huh.
You have to, you get 3 call-ups, right?
Yeah.
Still think that's the rule.
Yep.
You just, the guy's shown it. Well, let me put it to you this way. Why would you do that?
Only to go heavier in one area for a few weeks, and then you play your roster, your tango, and you bring him back. He's a vested vet, right?
Sure. Oh yeah, he could be one of the vet. Yeah, you have. Yeah, he's eligible to be in the practice. I just don't see the point now. But I'll say this though. On what
my point was though, he doesn't have to pass through waivers, correct?
No, he's vested. No, but here's my point on that one.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned it earlier about 6 receivers. Typically, you don't want to keep 6 receivers. I think you were saying it on Football 4, I think on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go heavy everywhere. Right. So if you go 6, the Eagles love to keep their 10 or 11 offensive linemen.
Yep.
If they keep 11 and 6 receivers, you got to go skinny somewhere. You have to.
Yeah.
But Dillon is, well, here's the problem with that. Here's another reason why. A.J. Dillon, if A.J. Dillon keeps this up, he clearly could be a valuable backup. He could say, him and his agent on your premise could say, we're not doing that. A.J. will just go to this other team and be the backup or be on the roster to get a full salary. Yeah,
I guess there would have to be that interest there, and there wasn't a whole lot of interest going into him. Yep, we'll see. We'll absolutely see. Like the Eagles like to be shrewd. I mean, how much are they going to use Dillon for the first 3 weeks of the season? Maybe not much because Barkley's going to be healthy, you would assume, for at least the first few weeks. So I don't know. It was just something I've been trying to wrestle in my mind as I try to figure out the 53. But that's for a talk for a couple of weeks from now. So I guess real quick on your offensive line point, though, you were saying, I guess Brett Toth was once again the starting left guard, right?
Yep.
And
fully expected. Right. He has been. Mm-hmm. What's that?
Kennard was second team right guard.
Yes, and then a tight end, Bryant. Now that's another question. Will they keep 3? He is the 3 right now. Harrison Bryant, former Brown. There's really odd. There are a lot of former Browns who were Eagles and former Browns. JalenCarter, Harrison Bryant. Just talk about guys who switched teams.
Yeah.
Oh, you know who is there? He's the Browns director of player development is?
Browns director of player development. No.
He's a former Eagles receivers coach. I think I just gave it away.
Don't Greg Lewis? I still don't know.
The not immortal Carson Walsh.
Oh wow. I forgot about Carson Walsh.
I'm like, wait a minute, is that Carson Walsh? And I'm like, all right, I gotta look this up.
That's fun. So he's in an administrative role now.
Yeah, he's been there for a couple of years. That's an interesting hire. So EJ Jenkins, he plays special teams. He'll push Bryant. We'll see how that works out. The number 3 quarterback role is still the same with DTR a little bit ahead, another former Brown. Other than that, I mean, that's pretty much. I'm looking at individual plays. I kind of think I talked about that. Dallas Goedert, I know he won't get the ball enough because it's got to go through A.J. Brown, then Devontae Smith, but he's literally uncoverable. This dude did it again on a seam pass and then on a over route. Nobody covers him. It's a second straight training camp. He looks so dominant, but there's not much they can do, and they're not going to be a heavy 11 personnel team.
Okay, let's transition into what you saw defensively. First, you got to hear a word from our great friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
And if you stop into Sky Motor Cars, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You'll get a great deal all the way out there in Westchester, PA. You got to go stop in and see them and get the greatest car shopping experience, great inventory, great customer service. If you can't make it, that's why you can go to SkyMotorCars.com. All right, defensively, Adam. One thing that was discussed in the press conference, you had made a mention of this last time you went, and that's the defensive line doing a lot of shifting pre-snap itself. And I forget who brought it up, but they were basically explaining that against the run, it makes it harder for the offensive linemen to coordinate their double team blocks if you have the defensive line shifting before the snap. So good observation by you. That's intentional. It's something that I think they did a decent amount last year against certain teams, but that does make it difficult for linemen because you have rules, right? If you're the uncovered lineman, you jump into the second level. If you're the center on the guard, you work that double team on the tackle or the 3 technique or the 0 and then move up. So you almost have to change the rules if you have the defensive line moving before the snap. So that was I wanted to point out that you made a good observation, an important observation there.
And you know what's good? Gabe Hall returned. That was good because when I saw him holding his arm, I'm like, no, man, I hope this is not bad. They can't afford another.
Yeah.
They were so thin, but he got a little bit of work in. I was watching him. He is so long, man. He that's the thing, the advantage of you going to practice, because I look for this stuff, body types. He's so long. You can't teach size, man. And he's starting to develop. This is a good job here by Clint Hurt. What did we say last year? If he can't reach Gabe Hall, forget about it. The guy will never play.
Yep.
You know, and he's getting to this kid. Good for Gabe Hall to take coaching. This is good.
Yeah.
Boy, the Browns passing game was way off. I'm looking at my notes here. I know Shedeur got hurt within the first 20 minutes, but Dylan Gabriel's coming back from the rookie. He's come back from a hamstring injury. He was off. Flacco's timing with his receivers just wasn't there. Now, in one-on-ones, because Flacco does throw some anticipation, him and Jerry Jeudy hooked up some. Sometimes they were off. Ringo was picked on. He gave up his share of plays. And I'm expecting today to Flacco, because when they watch the tape, I'm sure they saw that. They're going to want to take advantage of that. Ringo is it's hard for him to start and stop. It just, you see it if you really watch it closely at practice, which I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Cosell pointed this out to me. It's the first time Greg pointed that out to us since we've been talking to Greg about Ringo for 3 years now. Greg pointed out more than once this offseason when we talked to him that it's a problem, and it's something that I don't know that you could cure. And he was the first guy up, by the way, but they're split reps. Him and Jackson, it's completely even. Bennett got work with the 2s mostly, a little bit with the 1s. He had a up and down practice. He made some plays. He gave up some plays.
Mm-hmm.
I would not say their secondary played great, but the point was that the Browns' passing game was not there. It just wasn't. Other than that, I would say that Makuba got some work with the 1s, mostly with the 2s. Brown was first up. I'm not reading into anything. There are 3 weeks left. Makuba has to make up for lost time. They want him to start. They drafted him to start. You don't draft someone in the second round not to start if the guy's ready. But they're not going to know for 3 weeks until he's ready. They're not going to know until he gets thrown into the deep end, so to speak, and keeps playing. And we'll see what happens there. So other than that, it was Campbell.
Did you sense any a decent amount of edge pressure? I thought that this was an
Oh
area.
yeah, thank you for bringing it up. Ojulari, I thought was, boy, did his length show up. He's only 6'2.5", but 34.5-inch arms. My God, did it show up? Because I keep forgetting he's 13. I'm sick of these quarterback numbers for edge rushers, defensive players. But he is long. Josh Uche brought it, the energy. He's got some explosion. Ojulari, you just cannot teach that length. And man, Patrick Johnson again. He's getting reps. Yet another former Brown or former Eagle, Obo Okonkwo, number 50.
He's had a nice camp.
Yeah, he's running mostly with threes. But so Ojulari showed up. Ojomo, okay. So here's the new thing I got from Ojomo. Because he basically wins with speed. He had an arm over move, which I happened to, it wasn't too far from me, so I was able to see it. I'm like, I know there were some minor character knocks for him, but he should have gone in the 4th or 5th. The 7th, really? What the hell is the NFL missing this guy?
Yeah, that one still befuddles me. When we checked into it, it didn't seem like there was anything overly bad about him.
Nothing.
Nothing of that. So, the what really jumps out to me is the wingspan you mentioned with Gabe Hall, and we know that Moro Ojomo has really long arms. And I wonder if Vic can ever get some kind of sub package where Hall, and this would entail taking JalenCarter off the field probably, but if you get Hall and Ojomo next to each other, like inside, both in that 3 technique position where they're rushing the passer, and you get their arms up, I mean, that could be really difficult for quarterbacks for passing lanes. You can bat down balls, and just general for short arm guards to have 2 really long armed out there making disruption.
So we had the NASCAR package, which was actually the real story was going on well before the Giants did it, but just Spags was, because they were a marquee team, everyone saw what the NASCAR package was.
Right.
They could go with the length and speed package with Ty Robinson is explosive. Ojulari, obviously, as you mentioned. Hunt, of course, but he's not a great pass rusher yet.
NolanSmith has long arms. He's a long arm guy. NolanSmith is a guy who's got a longer wingspan than body frame. Yeah.
Moro, yes. Moro's got length. It's the one issue which I still struggle with, seeing it in Wednesday in particular. I just struggle to see a big time pass rusher. Now the question would be, do they need one? You'd like someone to emerge. We know that NolanSmith, if you had the playoffs, had over 10 sacks, and he certainly came on for 3/4 of the season. But is he big? Is he big time enough? I don't know that yet. We'll have to see. So that would be my one concern with this front. Is who's going to be the big time guy.
Agreed. All right. Sum this up for me, because it seemed like there was a sentiment among those covering the team that, well, I'm going to say that the Browns won the. I don't know if we get into who won or lost, but a couple of years ago, I remember we did this pod after you came back from the Brea one, and you were like, the Eagles just kicked the crap out of the Browns up and down the field. Was this a different kind of?
It wasn't anything like that. It depends on how you evaluate. You could really see when a team crushes the other one.
Yeah,
that I've been at probably 80 to 100 joint practices. That was the most dominant I've seen one team ever. It was that in 22,
right? Yeah,
that was 3 years ago. That was ridiculous. 2 years ago was very even. I don't know. You could make the case that the Browns did, but it would be. See, that was my problem when you say that. If you were there, did you watch both sides of the football? You can't watch every snap. It's impossible.
Right.
But now, certain areas.
In general, it stood out to you that it wasn't like the Eagles wiped the floor with the Browns this time.
No one did. I didn't think so. Yeah. Now, I would tell you that Myles Garrett had his moments where he got them, not just the one-on-ones, where he did very, very well. Jerry Jeudy had some moments, and he had some moments where his timing was off with Flacco, whoever was throwing to him. The Browns aren't real strong at running back, so the Eagles didn't have a problem slowing up their run game. I don't know, but that's very subjective. This one wasn't so dominant by the Browns that you could say that, but I'm going to talk to them later today, and I'm very curious.
Yep. No, I always like that when you sort of go behind the scenes and talk to some people about it and come back with even better.
They're happy to tell you. Well, they're only happy to tell you if they did what I'm just joking, but because I know, as I talked about this 2 years ago, they were not happy with their performance in 22, and they kind of brought it here in Philly 2 years ago. They were embarrassed, I think. I mean, I'm speaking for them just based on 3 or 4 conversations I had 3 years ago.
Right.
I don't think they were real happy. Plus, it was in their own building 3 years ago at Berea.
Ugh.
It was. I'll say this one. It was really weird because I don't believe there were very few. It was either closed to the public or there were very few fans there. Because I remember it being very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
This one was not. It was very lively. Pretty good crowd there, by the way, at NovaCare.
All right, cool. Well, they got one left before Saturday's preseason game. It'll be today. I'll be there, so we'll have it all well and covered, and we'll do another one of these, and hopefully maybe we can get Andrew in and do a roundtable discussion to wrap it all off. That would be good. So just stay tuned on Inside the Birds because we will have these joint practices. We'll have more intel than anybody can give you between all 3 of us. So that's going to do it for this edition of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. As always, we thank you for flying with us inside the Birds.